am Ashrafi. If these people, if their lives are so cheap, well, I say to Maliki, come and kill me. I am an Ashrafi.
اجلاس کمیته دوستان ایران آزاد در پارلمان اروپا، استراسبورگ، 11 سپتامبر 2013. محکومیت قتل عام مجاهدین در اشرف، فراخوان به آزادی 7 گروگان مجاهد، ضرورت استقرار نیروهای کلاه آبی سازمان ملل در لیبرتی برای حفاظت.
First of all, can I welcome all of you. Can I particularly welcome the Vice President of Parliament, Alejo Vidal-Quadras, and many other colleagues who have come today. Now, I want to start by saying a particular welcome to Dr. Masame Baluchi, who is sitting along on my left. Dr. Baluchi's only son was one of the people massacred on the 1st of September in Camp Ashraf. And I really want to thank Dr. Baluchi for making what must be a very difficult journey at this time to be with us. The President this morning, in response to my point of order, said, well, you should raise it this afternoon with Cathy Ashton. I have raised it every day with Baroness Ashton since the massacre. Every day. So has Alejo, so have many of us. Nothing has been done. These people could have been saved. 52 people that we warned would die are now dead. We warned repeatedly this would happen. And we're treated as if we've lost our mind, as if we've become, somehow seduced by this PMOI movement, as if we are not genuine politicians that are making a genuine warning of catastrophe. So this happens on our watch. But anyway, I will say more about that later. First of all, can I give the floor to a very strong supporter of this whole event, Alejo Vidal-Quadras.
Thank you very much, Ron. 10 minutes ago, I've had a phone conversation on the phone with a member of the cabinet of Baroness Ashton. They've called me, I suppose, because she wants to have a peaceful intervention this afternoon. So he said to me that they are doing whatever they can and so on. I said to him that we expected the High Representative this afternoon to send a very clear message to this criminal government of Iraq, in the sense that if these 7 people, 6 of them are women, if these 7 people are not freed and put under the protection of United Nations or European Union immediately, that would have severe consequences, both diplomatic and financial, for the government of Iraq. And that if these people are taken to Iran and murdered, the European Union in the future or immediately will do everything at our hand to bring the responsible Iraqi people to respond in a court of justice. Anything less than that, I said, is a waste of time. This massacre was not only a crime. I think it was a horrendous crime because the way it was executed with such cruelty, such absolute lack of humanity. I mean, that proves that the hate of the Iranian regime and absolute servitude of submission of the Iraqi government to the mullahs is really appalling. I was in Ashraf in 2008 with Tune Kellam, and I met your son. I met him. And now he's dead, you know, and Baroness Ashton wants to engage with the murderer. I mean, we feel such frustration and that not only anger, but we feel frustrated. And frankly, this is one of the saddest things, probably the most sad I've experienced in my political life. I concur with the historical leader of the opposition, Masoud Rajavi, when he says that in this attack to Camp Ashraf and the previous attacks in Ashraf and in Liberty on unarmed and defenseless people, the mullahs are giving a clear signal, a clear message to the rest of the world. They tell us where is the real and effective opposition to the regime. And of course, this is not at all a relief in these crimes, but it is a powerful argument in front of those that in Europe try to minimize the importance of the NCRI. And now, after 2 years or 1 year and a half of continuous warning, 2 years?
2 years.
2 years. We have been 2 years. We have sent hundreds of letters. We have made numerous telephone calls. We have had conversations with the High Representative and her people. And nothing. I mean, and we told them they will be killed, they will be massacred. And there was one attack, and another attack, and another attack. And the reaction was so weak that at the end they have done what they did in 1st of September, which is shooting people in the head when they are handcuffed, or killing them in the surgery table in the hospital. I mean, you must be really not human to shoot a man in the head when he's at the surgery table because he's wounded. I mean, this is something that takes us to the Yugoslavia war or to the Second World War in the Nazi camp. You know, it's incredible. And the only thing, Nazi, yes. So the only thing we can do here, unfortunately, because we cannot go to Iraq to protect them because we wouldn't be allowed to go into the country. But the only thing we can do and we will do is to insist and to put pressure on our High Representative and on United Nations and on the United States in order to save the life of these 7 people and of these six women, that perhaps can stop the next crime if the pressure is strong enough. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the first massacre took place in 2009. It's 4 years ago we've been warning this would happen. There have now been 5 massacres. When the Americans left and the Iraqis assumed responsibility for the safety and security of the 3,500 people at that time in Ashraf, they then started building. They put the camp under siege. They wouldn't allow anyone to leave. They wouldn't allow any more visits from parliamentarians or lawyers. They stopped providing them with fuel and water. They had to buy that from outside Iraq at huge cost. They then erected loudspeakers all around the camp and blared high volume, high decibel insults and music and noise 24/7 to torture them psychologically. And what did we do? Nothing. Then they went into the camp for the first massacre. Now, after 5 massacres, there are 126 dead, including the 52 recently. 14 others have died because of being deprived of proper medical assistance. And what did we do? Nothing. What did Baroness Ashton do? After each massacre, she makes, I think she simply recycles the same press release, saying that she welcomes Nouri al-Maliki's assurance that he will conduct a full investigation to find out who carried out the massacre. Once again, after the 1st of September massacre that we've just witnessed, he said, this is nothing to do with me. I don't know who has conducted this. Terrorism is taking place all across Iraq. I have no knowledge of what happened to the hostages. But we know the commanders who took part in the command of this massacre. Our old friend Haidar Azab, he's been indicted for murder by his involvement in one of the previous massacres. The Spanish courts have indicted him for murder. He was on the scene. Ahmed Kozair, who was also one of the commanders of the previous massacres. Major General Jamil Shameri, the commander of the Diyala police unit, and Colonel Nahad, the commander of the military force at Ashraf. These 4 people are guilty of crimes against humanity. These 4 people must be indicted for crimes and must be brought to a trial in The Hague. And the person who ordered these people to conduct this massacre that led to 52 deaths, that person can only be the Prime Minister himself, Nouri al-Maliki, because he has retained control of defence, of intelligence, of internal security. All of that is controlled from his office. He must be held accountable for what has happened. For Baroness Ashton to welcome him saying that he would conduct an inquiry is like saying to Bashar al-Assad, we welcome the fact that you say you will carry out an inquiry into the sarin gassing of your own people in Damascus. It is ludicrous, absurd, and an insult to all of our intelligence. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now confronted with the crisis of the 7 hostages. We are trying our utmost now at every high level in America and here in Europe to have some meaningful intervention. You will be aware that this massacre took place, and I think the reason why the head of intelligence from Iran was sent on the 29th of August to Baghdad was because they are smart. They realized the whole focus of the international community was on Damascus. They realized the international press were focused on Damascus. And they thought, we can get away with this massacre without the press paying much attention and without the West doing much. Well, I want today to say to all of you that I am Ashrafi. I have solidarity with these people. If these people, if their lives are so cheap, well, I say to Maliki, come and kill me. You know, come and take me in a helicopter to Iran. I am an Ashrafi as well, and I hope all of you here are Ashrafis.
Thank you. And first of all, of course, I want to give my condolence to the family, the relatives, and the political friends of the killed friends and comrades in Camp Ashraf. Right now, of course, our main concern is the 7 hijacked persons from Camp Ashraf. 6 women and 1 man. Of course they are in the utmost danger. And therefore, I think we have to act. These people which have been hijacked was under the protection of the UNHCR. The Iraqi regime has accepted it. We have to do what we can to put pressure. Of course, we also have a concern about the many in Camp Liberty, because they are also in the same kind of danger. And I think we must step up our campaign that they are guaranteed protection. They are under the protection in formal sense of the UNHCR, and therefore, of course, we must insist that UNHCR and UN personnel is protecting them. There has to be blue helmet there to protect these people. We know that the international have a responsibility to protect people in that situation. And therefore, we have to insist that something is happening right now. Then I think that we have also, but as a second priority, but we also have to insist that we need a full international and independent investigation of what have happened. We cannot believe in any investigation done by the Iraqi government, not even by the UNHCR or UN. We need a full independent investigation. And that should be my final remark, because whatever have happened and whatever will happen, we have to state very clearly that the responsible for these crimes, they will be punished. It can take short, it can take long, but they will be punished. And we will do our utmost to secure that. Thank you.
I'm trying to concentrate on what can be made. The same as usually, or not only that. Our and others' outrage, protests, petitions and emotions don't work with Nazis and appeasers of Nazis. Let's consider now to make recently and finally an unusual, even more as your idea to run, an unusual, not ordinary step to turn world's awareness to commemorate without a delay the honest people of unarmed Iranian descent, and via very announcing the decision possibly to stop the list of victims of Camp Ashraf. It maybe could be a monument after the place is found as soon as possible. 252 Iranian political refugees killed in Iraq. Date and place, with naming each of them as persons being or should be under UN protection. The real monument could be decorated by coat of arms or emblem of UN, put on in reverse, up to down, as all the humanitarian principles of UN are reversed now here. There and on a line, Ashraf, Baghdad, New York. Please think about it. Maybe it could resound in the consciousness of the world. Thank you.
Il y a des situations dans lesquelles les mots ils sont inutiles parce que les douleurs et la rage ils sont trop forts. La politique n'est pas capable de résoudre de problèmes comme celles que nous connaissons de l'Iran, parce que la politique c'est trop lié à des intérêts économiques, que pas tous les fois ils sont des intérêts justes et corrects. Alors je pense que nous devons chercher de donner à notre citoyenne des informations plus correctes et de chercher d'avoir une solidarité dans la population. C'est l'humanité qui doit être plus forte que la politique des intérêts. Et c'est pour ça que je pense que si nous serons capables de faire dans les places de notre ville, voir la documentation que nous avons vue dans ce moment, je pense que notre citoyenne, peut-être, il sera capable de convaincre la politique à être plus active. Et je pense que même celui qui sont en Europe, qui sont des Iraniens, qui combattent tous les jours contre les régimes, même eux, ils sont en péril. Et ça, on doit le comprendre et donner toute l'aide possible.
Thank you, Struan. I will try to make very brief and rather practical remark in this very tragic situation. And this is about also our responsibility for institutional or formal consequences on the EU side. I do believe that we still have ways and means how to handle with that issue, not only on our personal level, on the level of engagement of our national governments and ministries of foreign affairs. And I do believe that what Struan said about responses and reactions of Mrs. Ashton to this situation is really something we cannot accept, and we have to demand more. We have to demand practical steps, we have to demand stronger response, and we have to demand a real EU engagement and EU institutional engagement into this whole situation.
Many words will seem inadequate following the horrors we witnessed in the short film we watched earlier. I absolutely share the sense of outrage and anger and frustration that you've expressed, Struan, and other speakers here this afternoon. I've been a member of this place for almost 30 years, and since the very earliest days of my membership of the European Parliament, I've worked closely with the PMOI. At least one of the friends I've worked with and made over the years, who spent many hours in my office here in the European Parliament, features in one of these pictures. And there are probably others among the 52 that died in that horrible massacre on the 1st of September. Of course, our immediate concern has to be the hostages. I wrote an email to Cathy Ashton yesterday morning to her personal email address and received assurances from her that she was working with the US, with the UN and her own services to intervene, to do her very best to secure the release of the hostages. I share the view that our concern now has to focus on liberty. We need not only an independent inquiry into what happened on the 1st of September. I agree absolutely that it's not good enough for our High Representative to welcome the idea of an investigation by Maliki. We need an independent investigation. But we also need, as a matter of urgency, a UN presence in Camp Liberty. We need the blue helmets there. It is the UN's responsibility to protect these individuals. They've done nothing to protect the people who died on the 1st of September in Camp Ashraf. We have to make sure all of us, across party, really do redouble our efforts to work with, particularly the High Representative and her services, to make sure that there is a direct intervention. No more appeasing Maliki. Let's have direct intervention to secure the safety of the people of Camp Liberty.
The category of deathly violence at Camp Ashraf and Camp Liberty continues. I need to go back to my government and all the member states need to go and ask their assistance. We need to hold the people responsible and we need to get the investigation into the 52 deaths. They deserve that from us. But we mustn't lose sight of the other 6 women and 1 man who is being held hostage, and if we don't act now, we need to chase up the international community.
We need to remind ourselves of the humanity of this massacre. We also, on a very different level, need to remind the institutions involved, the United Nations, remind the United States government and others who afforded international protection that they failed. And therefore, can they be trusted in the future? I would argue that often in this House we enter into what we call an amicus curiae in court cases, that we should perhaps consider whether such an action should be undertaken in Washington, in New York for the United Nations, and indeed perhaps in Europe, so that we begin through the legal processes to hold the institutions and the individuals accountable. You said, I am an Ashrafi. I too state exactly that I am Ashrafi. If you attack them, you attack me, and ultimately they attack every single one of us, because we are talking about universal human rights, and that means the right to life and the right to protection and legal process. Thank you.
Every single person here had protected status, but where was their protection? And we must not let it happen. We must not.
Can I say, just to sum up, that the key messages that have come across today are quite clear. First of all, the hostages. We must intervene now to get these hostages liberated before they are handed over to the Iranians. And I go on record here, and I'm sure you will all join me with this. If these hostages are taken out of Iraq and handed over to the Mullah regime and end in Evin prison and are tortured, then we will not only hold the Iraqi regime accountable, we will hold Baroness Ashton, the UN, the UNHCR, we will hold all of them and the US accountable. We have heard repeated demands for blue helmets. The UN have a responsibility to send blue helmets now to stop any further attacks or massacres. We must have a full, independent, UN-led inquiry into this recent massacre, not a pathetic inquiry which will go nowhere by Nouri al-Maliki. It's asking a murderer to investigate his own murders. That's ludicrous. A UN independent inquiry, they took possession of all 52 of the bodies for autopsies to be carried out. They're responsible for carrying out this inquiry. Why are the Americans, who guaranteed the safety of these people, who gave each individual a card saying, we will guarantee your safety and security, why are the Americans not airlifting all of them to America? Why are the Americans ducking their responsibility and leaving them as sitting ducks to be massacred in the way that happened on the 1st of September? Can I say finally to Dr. Baluchi, your son will not have died in vain. Yes. He will be remembered when we achieve freedom for Iran, yes, when we achieve democracy, when we achieve human rights, yes, when we get rid of the murderers, yes, both in Iran and Iraq. Your son and all of the other martyrs will be remembered. Yes. Thank you.
I'm sure. Thank you very much.
بیانیه اعضای ایتالیایی پارلمان اروپا شامل نایب رئیس پارلمان اروپا از ایتالیا، 6 عضو هیئت رئیسه گروه‌های پارلمانی و 2 رئیس کمیسیون پارلمان اروپا. محکومیت قتل عام در کمپ اشرف و 7 گروگان ربوده شده توسط دولت عراق. فراخوان برای آزادی گروگانها و اعلام همبستگی با اعتصاب قضا کنندگان ایرانی. ما قویاً از دولت ایتالیا و کشورهای اروپایی، دبیر کل ملل متحد و کمیسر عالی پناهندگان که مسئولیت سلامت و امنیت گروگانها را بر عهده دارند می‌خواهیم تمامی اقدامات ضروری را اتخاذ کنند تا آزادی این گروگانها را به دست آورند. بروکسل 13 سپتامبر 2013. قتل عام در کمپ اشرف و 7 گروگان گرفته شده توسط دولت عراق. ما قتل عام اخیر اعضای بیدفاع مجاهدین در کمپ اشرف توسط نیروهای عراقی را قویاً محکوم می‌کنیم. در این حمله وحشیانه 52 تن کشته شدند و بسیاری در حالی که دستبند به دست داشتند از پشت سر هدف قرار گرفتند. نیروهای عراقی 7 عضو کمپ شامل 6 زن و 1 مرد را ربودند. بنا به اخبار رسیده این گروگانها به محلی در نزدیکی فرودگاه بغداد برده شدند و ممکن است آنها هر لحظه به ایران مسترد شوند که به معنای شکنجه غریب الوقوع و اعدام است. ما قویاً از دولت ایتالیا و همچنین کشورهای اروپایی، دبیر کل ملل متحد و کمیسر عالی پناهندگان ملل متحد که مسئولیت مستقیم سلامت و امنیت گروگانها را بر عهده دارند می‌خواهیم که دخالت کنند و تمامی اقدامات ضروری را اتخاذ کنند تا آزادی این گروگانها را به دست آورده و مانع تحویل آنها به رژیم ملاها در ایران شوند. این گروگانها همگی افراد حفاظت شده تحت کنوانسیون 4 ژنو هستند. ما همبستگی خود را با ایرانیان بسیاری که در سراسر جهان در اعتصاب غذا به سر میبرند اعلام میکنیم. مارکو اسکوریا، روبرتا آنجلیلی، کریستینا موسکاردینی، سیلویا کوستا، پوتیتو سالاتو، آمالیا سارتوری، جوانی لاویا، لیچا رونتزولی، پاولو بارتولوتسی، اورست روسی، کلودیو مورگانتی، آنتونیو کانکین، ارمینیا ماتزونی، سرجو برلاتو، سالواتور تاتارلا، آنتونیلو آنتینورو.
فراخوان فوری شخصیت‌های برجسته آلمانی ریتا زوسموت، گونتر فرهویگن، آنت هوبینگر، اوتو برنهارد به دبیر کل ملل متحد و رئیس جمهور آمریکا برای مداخله و آزاد کردن 7 گروگان اشرفی. به عنوان مسئولین حفاظت این پناهندگان ایرانی از شما درخواست می‌کنیم سریعاً دخالت کنید. خواسته ما دیدار با گروگانها و آزادی بی قید و شرط و فوری آنهاست. سکوت در این لحظه نقض مهمترین اصول ملل متحد است. پروفسور ریتا زوسموت، رئیس پیشین مجلس آلمان فدرال، پروفسور گونتر فرهویگن، نایب رئیس پیشین کمیسیون اروپا، آنت هوبینگر، نماینده مجلس فدرال آلمان و اوتو برنهارد، عضو هیئت رئیسه بنیاد کنراد آدنائر، طی فراخوانی به بانکیمون و باراک اوباما خواستار مداخله آنان برای آزادی گروگانهای اشرفی شدند. شخصیت‌های برجسته آلمانی اعلام کردند ما این نامه را برایتان می‌نویسیم تا خواستار دخالت اضطراری و شخصی شما برای نجات 7 گروگانی شویم که ردی از آنها دیده شده است. این 7 تن اعضای اپوزیسیون ایران هستند که در جریان کشتار اول سپتامبر 2013 در اشرف ربوده شدند. این وضعیت یک دخالت بین المللی را از هر زمان دیگری ضروری تر می سازد. سازمان ملل این ساکنان را به عنوان پناهنده تحت کنوانسیون ژنو و به عنوان پناهجو به رسمیت شناخته و از این حیث مشمول حفاظت سازمان ملل می شوند. نتیجه تلخ به اصطلاح حفاظت عراق از ساکنان تا کنون 5 حمله از طریق نیروهای مسلح عراق بوده است. اکنون آن وقایع فاجعه بار در اول سپتامبر 2013 نه تنها تکرار شده بلکه ابعاد جدیدی به خود گرفتند. یک گروه تحقیقاتی سازمان ملل نیز این را تایید کرده است. در این حمله 7 تن از ساکنان شامل 6 زن ربوده شدند. اسامی آنها مشخص است، کما اینکه اسامی کشته شدگان و بازماندگان مشخص هستند. اکنون گفته می شود اسناد ویدئویی و اطلاعات قابل اعتمادی وجود دارند که اثبات می کنند گروگانها در فرودگاه بغداد بودند. لذا ما از شما به عنوان مسئولین مستقیم برای حفاظت این پناهندگان ایرانی مصرانه درخواست می کنیم سریعاً دخالت کنید. ابتکارات زیر بسیار مبرم و ضروری هستند. برقراری فوری ارتباط با دولت عراق و دنبال کردن اطلاعاتی که در مورد حضور گروگانها وجود دارد. خواسته دیدار با گروگانها و آزادی بی‌قید و شرط و فوری آنهاست. تحقیقات مستقل در مورد مسببین گروگانگیری و قتل عام اول سپتامبر در اشرف نیز باید به اجرا گذاشته شود. سکوت در این لحظه به معنای نقض مهمترین اصول ملل متحد است. سازمان ملل متحد و ایالات متحده آمریکا به دفعات تأکید کردند که بازگرداندن پناهندگان به ایران به معنای عبور از مرز سرخ است. این وضعیت در پیش روی ماست و اقدام سریع برای مقابله با آن را ضروری می کند. اطلاعیه دبیرخانه شورای ملی مقاومت ایران 23 شهریور 1392 قتل عام و اعدام دست جمعی در اشرف شماره 46 7 گروگان در زندانی در فرودگاه بغداد و در دست لشکر کثیف مالکی هستند. تکذیب مشاور سیاسی مالکی در وحشت از عواقب بین المللی جنایت علیه بشریت و زمینه سازی برای استرداد است. فراخوان به ملل متحد، صلیب سرخ، آمریکا و اتحادیه اروپا برای دیدار با گروگانها و اقدام برای آزادی آنها. طبق آخرین گزارش‌ها 7 گروگان اشرفی همچنان در زندانی در محوطه فرودگاه بغداد تحت کنترل لشکر کثیف، لشکر طلایی و نهاد مبارزه با تروریسم هستند که تحت کنترل شخص مالکی است. این گروگانها در ابتدا پس از ربوده شدن از اشرف به منطقه سبز بغداد برده شده و سپس به زندانی در محوطه فرودگاه منتقل شدند. روز جمعه کمیساریای عالی پناهندگان ملل متحد اعلام کرد 7 گروگان بر طبق گزارش‌های رسیده به کمیساریای عالی پناهندگان ملل متحد در جایی در عراق نگهداری می‌شوند و در خطر این هستند که برخلاف اراده خودشان به ایران بازگردانده شوند. این 7 تن همگی برای کمیساریای عالی پناهندگان ملل متحد به عنوان پناهجویان شناخته شدند و این نهاد امیدوار است فرصت مصاحبه با آنها را داشته باشد. در پرتو گزارش‌های متعدد و مستمر در هفته گذشته که این افراد ممکن است در خطر بازگرداندن به ایران باشند، کمیساریای عالی پناهندگان ملل متحد از دولت عراق می‌خواهد که جای آنها را مشخص و امنیت فیزیکی آنها را تضمین کند و از آنها در برابر بازگرداندنشان به ایران برخلاف خواست خودشان حفاظت به عمل آورد. در چنین شرایطی به گزارش آسوشیتد پرس، جورج باکوس مشاور سیاسی مالکی و مسئول پرونده مجاهدین در دولت عراق روز جمعه تکذیب کرد این 7 نفر مفقود در بازداشت عراق هستند. این دروغ آشکار از یک سو وحشت دولت عراق از عواقب سیاسی و بین المللی و قضایی جنایت علیه بشریت در اشرف را برملا می کند و از سوی دیگر زمین سازی این حکومت را برای استرداد گروگانها به رژیم آخوندی فاش می سازد. مقاومت ایران از دولت آمریکا و ملل متحد که در قبال سلامت و امنیت این گروگانها مسئولیت تمام عیار حقوقی، سیاسی و اخلاقی دارند می‌خواهد برای آزادی سریع و بیدرنگ آنها اقدام کنند. مقاومت ایران همچنین از نمایندگان آمریکا، ملل متحد، صلیب سرخ بین المللی و جامعه دیپلماتیک مقیم بغداد، به ویژه دیپلمات‌های اروپایی می‌خواهد برای اطمینان از سلامتی این گروگانها با آنها دیدار کنند.